Today we're checking out the 3-inch front leveling kit with front shock extensions for the 2014 and newer 4-wheel drive Ram 2500s, but excluding the Power Wagon. If you're looking to level your front end, fit larger tires, or just lift your truck a little bit while keeping it drivable, this kit provides a straightforward upgrade that's definitely worth checking out. This leveling kit is going to lift the front of your truck by 3 full inches for a more level stance, and it's going to eliminate that factory nose down raked look. It includes front shock extensions to maintain proper shock travel and preserve ride quality after the lift is complete. Built with heat-treated carbon steel components, the kit is designed to be rugged and durable under daily driving use and still suitable for lighter off-roading conditions. Also included are specially made lug bolts for proper fitment and mounting hardware, all aiming for a bolt-on install so you don't have to do any major modifications just to get that front end lifted 3 inches. This is overall one of the simplest ways to level out your truck, fit larger tires, or eliminate the rubbing issues that you might already be having on those front tires. When it comes to the construction, these are made primarily from heat-treated carbon steel. The components are built for high strength under stressful situations. The shock extension pieces are engineered to keep the shocks within their designed range of motion so you don't lose the ride quality while lifting the front end. The finished hardware and the instructions are included to ensure proper assembly and alignment, and if you stick with us, we'll show you that install here in a minute. Now, as far as pricing goes on this, it's coming in right around the $200 price range. For what it offers, this is one of the most affordable ways to lift the front end and get rid of that factory rake while allowing you to fit larger tires. There's not really an easier or cheaper way to get it done. When it comes to the installation, this is going to be rated a full 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, and you can have this done in just 3 hours of your time. So now let's see exactly how this install process goes with a quick video from one of our AmericanTrucks customers.
All right, so as you can see, not a whole lot of tools involved to do this lift, but the main thing you need is either 4-ton or 6-ton jack stands. You need 2 of those. Of course, we had an impact, makes it easier to take off the big bolts. For the Ram 2500, there's a 22mm socket to remove those. The 8mm socket and an 18mm wrench. I didn't have one, so I just used the crescent wrench. And then to mount the leveling, the 3-inch leveling spacer between the spring was 17mm, so you'll need a socket and also a 17mm wrench to get those bolts on. And this is a 13mm socket right here. That's to remove the brake lines. 22mm socket and a 22mm wrench and torque wrench. We had this mallet just to bang off the, help get the sway bar link. All right, so now we're removing the sway bar link, and you need an 8mm wrench to counteract the 18mm bolt that needs to be removed to disconnect the sway bar link. All right, and once that nut is off, then you can disconnect the sway bar. So now we're gonna disconnect it. So we're gonna start, all you gotta do is when you disconnect both 18mm bolts for both sides, all you gotta do is tap it with a rubber mallet. And all right, at this point you can push up on it and then they both move together. So this side is disconnected. So next we're gonna remove the lower bolt on the shock, and it's 22mm and it has a flag nut on the other side. So we're gonna put a 22mm impact on that to remove that bolt. So that is removed, and we're gonna do the same exact thing on the driver's side. So keep wiggling and turning, and it'll eventually come out. There it is. So next we're gonna remove the brake line brackets. These are 2 13mm bolts. but it can be done with hand tools. Just takes a little bit longer. All right, so once that's removed, you can move the one on top behind the shock. And then once again, we're gonna do the same exact thing on the driver's side to remove that bracket as well. All right, so those two bolts are out and those brackets are freed up. So the next step is we're gonna lower both jacks so we can lower the tension on the springs to remove the springs. All right, boys, we can start lowering slowly. All right, that's good. So we've released all the tension on the springs, so now the springs can be removed. All right, so now we've lowered the suspension on both sides. We've relieved all the tension on our springs, so now we're removing springs on both sides. And then we're also gonna remove this isolator right here, and take notice that it has a hole right here to stabilize this isolator, and this is where our bolt is gonna go in. All right, so now we're on the driver's side, and we're gonna mount the 3-inch level spacer. And once again, you can't use that long bolt with that wide nut inside, because there, if you look closely, there's a motor inside there. So you cannot use that. So you can only use the short 17mm bolt and washer. So you drop that down in through that hole. Now we can take our 3-inch spacer and just line it up with any one of those cutouts on top. And then once we do that, then we can use another washer and get it started. And then once again, you use a 17mm ratchet and then a 17mm wrench, and then you snug them down. All right, so once you get the nut and bolt started, then you can start ratcheting with the 17mm socket on one side on the top, then the wrench on the bottom, and then just snug them down. So now we have the 3-inch spring level that's mounted. So now we can do this spring mount, push pin. We want to put push pin in this hole right here to mount it. Then we want to take our spring and we want to load our spring in, but of course we need more lift on our truck. All right, so now that we have our little grommets lined up with our 3-inch spacer, we placed our spring back in. So now we can start to lift our 2 jacks up evenly, so we can now work on the shock extensions. All right, so we have our shock extension that comes in our kit. Next, we want to rotate our shock 90 degrees. And then here is our extension. And this is the hardware, the big bolt in the set. This is 22mm. So we just come down here and we push this bolt through. And then on our other side, we have a big washer and a nylon nut. And we get that started. And then we take our 22mm socket and a 22mm wrench and we tighten that down. We've got our extension bracket on our shock mount on the bottom. So we'll get this snugged up, but we won't do it too tight because we need to have a little wiggle room, because once we lift the 2 jacks up, we're gonna have to line up our shock and our shock mount. So we wanna have a little bit of play in this. We don't want it to be too tight. So we're gonna do our mount on the other side, just like this one. And then once we get that ready, then we can start lifting the suspension up to line up those holes for the shock mount. So now we have our extension, shock extension mounted. So now we're lifting the suspension so we can load our bolts back in for our shock. All right, and then we have that flag nut that we need to make sure we get in this extension, and then this flag bolt, you got to make sure it's going down into the mount. Here, Brian, hold this. And then that's a 21 millimeter socket, and we're going to get that to 89 foot-pounds of torque. All right, so I got the shock mount, and I'm tightening down this 21 millimeter, and once again I'm going to do it to 89 foot-pounds of torque. All right, so now we have our shocks mounted up. We raised our suspension up to line up our bolts. Now we can do our sway bar links on each side, and we get those started on both sides. Then I'm gonna go on the other side and make sure that side is started. All right, so now I got my sway bar into this end link right here. So I'm getting this started. Again, that's an 18 millimeter. I've got my 8 millimeter hex, and I don't have an 18 millimeter, so I'm gonna grab my crescent wrench. And then we're going to tighten these end links down on each side. All right, we're going to do the same thing to the other side, the other end link. So now we're loading our brake lines back on, and 13 millimeter socket to get these back on. Those nice and snug up. You got one back here. Get that one snugged up. And then we'll do the same exact thing to the other side.
All right, that's gonna wrap up our review and install of the 3-inch front leveling kit with front shock extensions for the 2014 and newer 4-wheel drive Ram 2500s, but excluding the Power Wagon. And for all things Ram, keep it right here at American Trucks.